Hello, everybody. This is Board Game Chats. I'm Myron.
And I'm Chris.
Hello, Myron.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
Good, good. I'm glad to hear your voice and chat with you once again. We're going to jump right into this one today. Today, our guest is Anna, your wife. Anna Raymer-Parks has decided to join us. Now, people listening to the show more will
Wild
remember...
Anna Raymer-Parks has appeared.
Yes, yes.
Is legend? It super effective?
What?
Pokemon. Super effective?
Oh.
Anyway. That went over my head.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. All the Pokemon references are all the audience members are like,
it's Pokemon Go. I'm not super familiar with it. So.
I'm marking that one as like the biggest fail during the beginning of a podcast small talk ever. You know, moments like this remind me that I actually have autism.
There we go. Well, you know, we practice this intro so much, it's not surprising that it's gone this way.
It's gone horribly wrong, and I'm never going to be invited back on the show. But
no, it's our fault. Anna, welcome to the show. People may remember that you were a guest host on episode 9, where we talked to Amanda Knight. That episode was called Everyone's a Mega Geek Inside. Right. It was fun. And I really wanted to have you on the show. I mean, obviously, you're Myron's wife. I almost said you're Anna's wife because, you know, that's how the start of this show
my
was going.
My own wife.
Yes.
I mean, she wears the pants, so, I mean, she might as well be, you know what I mean?
I wanted to have you on the show because obviously you're Myron's wife. I think, you know, we're friends. We play games together. In fact, you and I have played more games together, according to my BGG stats, than Myron and I have played together by probably.
Well, that's not surprising.
It's probably 3-1, like that
yeah,
much.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I assume there's like an order of magnitude.
Yeah. Over time, Chris, the more that the more years that we have gaming together, that the width of that is going to expand. So because as we know, Myron gets poopy pants and can tolerate 1 or 2 games.
If that.
In a sitting, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. And he needs a break.
I, on the other hand, have built up stamina over the years of playing with grandma and mom on the porch, where we would literally just sit for hours and play card games. And that, to me, is a fine way to spend the day.
Yeah, I would not. I would be, when I had to suffer through that, I'd just be in the background like a skeleton, like dead of boredom.
With that dead look in his eyes. Please get me out of here. That's fine. You just need more variety in your life than just games. So
yes.
Some of our funnest gaming moments, this is not a slight on you, Myron, but are those times when you'd be like, I got to go home. I'm going to go take a nap. Can you guys make sure Anna gets home later?
No. Let's see, like, here's the thing. Like y'all are being generous. Normally I'd be like, hey, so I'm going to go right now. Anna, let's go. And then Anna'd be like, I'm not going. And then y'all would offer to bring her home. I would already have been like, okay, all right, well, I'll see you later.
Yeah. I'm out.
So y'all are being very generous.
Yeah.
Did I mention that I have a little bit of autism, like a spot? And I do that like in front of the entire, like the entire gaming room too. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna leave then. So
I'm done.
As it turns out, Myron not good at intros or outros. So
yes. Yes. Speaking of that, like yesterday, I introduced a friend to another friend, and I was just like going on, and then one of the friends was like, "Hey, so like, I just met you, and so let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then you tell me about a little about yourself." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I have no idea how to do this, so yeah, please go for it. I'll wait." And it's another one of those things that I didn't know it was that before, but it makes perfect sense. Like, so yeah.
That's good. I like it when people will say something like that, because it's sort of, you know, I mean, sometimes it catches me off guard. It's like, I don't know what to say about myself, you know, but but I like it because it seems, I don't know, it just feels, it's sort of establishing the relationship a little bit more because you don't know somebody right away. And I want to know something about the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah. And you start with on equal footing as well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really wanted to have you on the show, Anna, because I enjoy gaming with you. I think you're an interesting Omni-Gamer. That's what I would call you, but we'll find out more about that. And we always have fun gaming with you. But I also see Myron and I have talked about doing a show at some point in the future where we interview each other, where Myron asks me questions and I ask him questions. And we thought that might be a fun thing to do. But I thought we should have you on to sort of set that up before we do that. And I'm not saying we're going to do that on the next episode or anything like that, but at some point in the future, Myron and I will sit down and do that with each other for an episode. I think it might be fun for people to hear our own different experiences and stories. But before that, I really wanted to have you on because I think, I mean, you've got a story to tell, and this is about you. I want to be clear. It's not about you and Myron. Although we will be asking questions that relate to the two of you, but it's about you.
There isn't
we want to hear
that much about
stories.
Me prior to Myron, since we've practically been together our entire lives. So, but yes, okay.
Yeah. But it's about you, and it's about your experience and your journey and your gaming and that kind of thing. And you know, we will ask some questions about Myron and your relationship and how you guys met and all those kinds of fun things. But I think it'll be a neat way to kind of introduce the idea that Chris and Myron are going to talk in a future episode.
Okay. Right. Cool. And also too, like Anna, like as a woman, you know, as a white woman gamer, from Chicago, from the United States, who has this experience of, you know, just being exposed to the different communities on each side of the border, and just like having traveled a lot and worked and been a successful leader, a leader of others, a leader of processes, a leader of blah, blah, blah. Like, just like, where do you stand like on gaming and things of that nature? So like, we really want to just like have a deep dive and understand just like who you are in the context of gaming. Because women are people and gamers too. And so why not start
women are
closest
people?
to home?
Oh,
right?
Boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
If you say so.
Right. I'm trying to get that hashtag started. So if you could hook me up and try that on Twitter, please.
Don't tell the United States, because
#WomenArePeople. It makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's might be a bit of a surprise to some people in some areas, right? I mean,
not to get too political, but
but I mean, even the gamer fact is a bit that can be a bit of a problem. You know, I think that you know, there are a lot of board game couples that game together, and you know, it is traditionally thought of as a mostly male-dominated hobby. And that may be true, but that doesn't, you know, shouldn't take away the fact that there's a significant population of women who are the gamers or the hardcore gamers or the ones that buy all the games in those relationships. And that's important. And we want to have those voices as well, as much as we can. Why don't we start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So, well, as I'm sure people may be aware, Myron and I are from the States originally, and moved to Canada in 2018, back in the good old days before COVID, when gaming around a table and going to like gaming cafes and places like Board Game Bliss on a Saturday to game with strangers was a thing that you would do. But you know, I grew up in Chicago and had kind of an interesting childhood. Grew up as an only child, so only child of my mother and father's relationship. They divorced, I think, officially when I was 2.
That's young.
So I don't have any memory of them being together. But my dad remarried and has 4 children with my stepmom, whom I've known my whole life. And she had 2 children from previous relationships as well. So, we have like a Brady Bunch type situation. There's 7 of us total. And so I grew up as an only child, kind of in my day-to-day life, going to school, didn't have to share a bathroom, had my own room, that kind of thing. And then on the weekends, I got to go and hang out with my brothers and sisters. So that was kind of, for me, that was kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
And
it's a big difference between the 2 houses. Like I can just think of the silence in the one house and then the chaos and the noise in the other.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, for sure.
Cool.
And like gaming was always a part of my life. So when I was a kid, like the first board game that I remember playing is Candyland, which I know one of your recent guests did not like Candyland, but I still have favorable memories of Candyland. I was a chubby kid, so I just thought it was great because it was like all, collecting all of these sweets.
Yeah,
like,
for
this
sure.
game is awesome. Yeah, so Candyland was a big hit. Chutes and Ladders in the States, so key difference. It's Chutes and Ladders. I did not know what Snakes and Ladders, I didn't even know that existed. And in fact, when we first moved here, I didn't understand Snakes and Lattes. I'm like why is there a gaming cafe, coffee place called Snakes and Lattes? Like, I don't get the snakes. What do snakes have to do with lattes? Well,
that's hilarious.
Because I didn't know that here it's not Chutes and Ladders, it's
Snakes and Ladders in Canada. Ladders. Yeah, that's what we grew up playing.
Yeah, so Snakes and Lattes makes a lot of sense if you grew up playing Snakes and Ladders, but if you grew up playing Chutes and Ladders, you have no fucking idea what that means. So
yeah. That's hilarious. And I would have I've heard of Chutes and Ladders. I'd heard it called that, but we never called it that. And it was almost always referred to as Snakes and Ladders. I almost said lattes. And, it wouldn't have occurred to me that you wouldn't have gotten the joke. Like, it's a world famous cafe, board game cafe. Like, people in Europe come to visit it and stuff like that. But now here they are with, a significant portion of America maybe not realizing, getting the joke of their name.
Exactly. And because to me, I was like, well, this is a cool place. Like, when we first moved here, I'm like, this is awesome. You can go, you can have a latte, you can play some games. What a great place to go, and hang out. But I just didn't understand the name.
See, this is so, like, for me, when I saw that, I was like, oh, obviously they went for Chutes and Lattes and got a cease and desist, or did some, had their legal team take a look at it, because it's obvious that the people who, there's numerous stores, so it's obviously a group that has, or a family that has some significant capital to invest into it. And so I just assumed that they were like, oh, we can't possibly use Chutes, so let's do Snakes and Lattes. That's what I assumed.
That's hilarious. That's even funnier. You put like this whole legal perspective behind this story. I do that all the time. I always fill in the blanks about why, something is named the way it is, or a movie was made the way it was, or why this was called that. And I just fill in the blanks of my own little story about that. And I love that. Yeah. Snakes and Lattes. I think there might be even 4, but I think there's 3, maybe 4 in Toronto right now. And then there's one in Arizona and somewhere else, and a couple more in the States, I think. So they're everywhere. They're a great place. Snakes and Lattes gets a plug from Board Game Chats for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's just a little funny anecdote, because I never got that reference until I actually visited a museum in Oakville, Ontario, and they actually had a copy of the board game, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Then everything made sense. That's hilarious.
Yeah. But board games weren't really necessarily the main focus of my gaming growing up. It was primarily card games. And so on my mom's side of the family, we always played various card games: canasta, hand and foot, dirty spades, oh hell, euchre, cribbage, rummy, German rummy, those types of card games. On my dad's side of the family, we played hearts, spades.
We played a lot
Yahtzee,
of hearts.
Lots of Yahtzee.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, but it was always more so on the card game side than the board games, for sure, while I was growing up. And then video games. My uncle always would give me his hand-me-down game consoles.
Nice.
So
your mom's uncle?
My mom's brother, yes. It would be my uncle, yes. Yeah, he gave me like his old Atari, his ColecoVision. So, and then, that transitioned into Nintendo and Super NES and that sort of stuff as I got older. So
yeah, see, that's why I think of you as an Omni-Gamer. You will play video games, you'll play tabletop games, you'll play a range of tabletop games, you'll play card games, you'll play pretty much any game.
So that's what that means. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
You're an Omni-Gamer. You'll consume it all in terms of gaming.
Yes,
yeah.
I do. I do like Sudoku. Still like Sudoku to this till this day.
So you were mentioning types of board games then?
Yeah.
Is that what you were mentioning, Chris? Like types of board games? So I thought you meant like as an Omni-Gamer, like video games and other types of things.
No, I would. Yeah, I mean, I guess some people in the community use Omni-Gamer as the different types of board games. So like, you'll play a miniatures game and a war game and abstract game and that kind of thing. But I use it much more broadly to mean that you'll literally play anything. And I think of you as very much like an Omni-Gamer as well, Myron. Like you've got the VR headset and you like video games and you love tabletop games and everything. Now, within that, you can be an Omni-Gamer and still have preferences, right? Like I consider myself an Omni-Gamer, probably less so than you guys, because I'm just getting back into video games after kind of being away for over a decade. And I'm still not really deep in that world. I'm still playing games that I played back when I was 10 years ago or 12, 15 years ago. It's like, oh, there's a new edition of Fallout. I'm playing that. And, it's 5 years old already, but I still love it. But within the phrase Omni-Gamer, like, I'm not a fan of like longer games. I don't like games with a lot of, deep conflict. So war games are probably not my thing necessarily, but an Omni-Gamer will try them, especially if it's an interesting twist or someone can give a good sales pitch. I will definitely give them a try. But
yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm open to trying pretty much any game. Although I don't prefer games that require a lot of strategy type. That it's not or very, very long games. But I guess Omni-Gamer, yeah, that makes sense to me. But that probably goes to just my competitive nature. I'm sure as people have gathered from prior episodes, I was going to say competitive and I do like to win. I play to win. So, I'll play shuffleboard, I'll play pool.
Right.
Can't do darts. I just can't figure them out. Lawn darts. Yes. Lawn darts.
Okay.
I like those. Cricket.
Cricket, really?
Croquet. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'll try to play it, and sometimes very badly, but I'll give it a go.
Cool. Now, I'm excited to have you on the show because your name has come up several times. Both Myron and I have talked about our wives a little bit. My wife Sherry has told me
not
that
so
she
favorably
won't be on
sometimes.
Not so favorably sometimes. So I'm looking at this as your chance to for rebuttal. You can bring up things. And one of the things we've heard about you is that you are very competitive when you play. Like you play to win. You take it on.
I do play to win. I am competitive. So on my list of strengths, competition is number 3.
Number 3. Okay.
So it's quite high. But I will play games that I know I'm not going to be good at. Right. Because, if I think that I'm going to like them, I'll play them. Like, I know that I suck at dexterity games. I'm just horrible at them. They're just not for me. I'm never going to be good at them. I wasn't good at them as a child. I'm not good at them now. Yeah, no. It's just not my thing. But I can have fun playing them and know that I'm not going to win, and that's fine. But generally speaking, even if it's a game I've never played, I'm going to try to win. Like that's, I'm not playing just to get a participation trophy. I want to win. And that doesn't always happen. That's okay.
Yeah.
But
no,
in my mind, if you're going to play, you might as well play to win.
And a place to win in life in general.
That's good. That's good. I like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't consider myself a competitive person, but when I play games, I play to win. Like I play hard and I will get upset during a game, but I'm not upset that another player attacked me or that I'm losing. I get more upset when I clearly made a dumb mistake or a stupid move. And it's like, oh man, I should have done this. And that's when and if I do that 3 or 4 times in a longer game, it's like, oh, this is really bad. I don't like this. I'm mad.
Yeah, that irritates me to no end. Yes.
Yeah, it's like kicking myself while we play. And afterwards, when it's over, it's like, oh, I want to try that again and play differently. But yeah, while it's happening, sometimes I will get upset. But I don't generally think of myself as competitive. I play to win, but I don't care who wins. I actually just started. I've kept track of all the games that I've played, or most of the games that I've played. And I just started adding in who wins and what the scores are and stuff like that. And for the first time, because I never really cared before, but now it's kind of neat to see, like, we'll be playing a game and it'll be like, oh, this is, Anna's highest score ever in this game. And I'll be like, oh, look at that, or, this is Myron's first play of this game or whatever, right? Those kinds of things are kind of neat.
I would say I play to win, and I don't care if anyone else wins as long as it's not Myron.
Right, exactly. I was going to say that. As long as it's not me.
As long as the winning criteria is always Myron loses.
Wow. That might be the sign of a healthy couple gaming together. Honestly, because I feel exactly the same way about my wife, Sherry.
See,
if I can beat her, I don't care where I am. I can be in second last place as long as I got 1 point more than Sherry.
Exactly.
I've succeeded. I've won.
Because see, the thing with Myron is he's an asshole. So he's wearing his
the truth is out.
So he's wearing his sore winter shirt.
I am marking that. Like the pause was amazing. The truth about Myron is it's like American Idol. He's an asshole.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, that's exactly what you expected her to say. and the pause,
but you waited for it anyway.
Fools you. You're like, oh shit, she's actually summoning up some new. No, that's about it.
Yes, yeah. He's wearing his sore winter shirt, and right because he knows that I'm competitive. So he's always the biggest jerk at the table when he wins. And so I honestly, I want to win and I'm going to play to win. But if somebody else wins, I'm okay with it as long as it's not him. Because
I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
The other thing about Myron, and this is a show about you, but the other thing about Myron is he will bring up things from the past, games that we've played in the past, and in great detail. He'll remember them. I don't. And he'll be like, remember that time when I beat you guys by 14 points and I just killed you? So y'all had less than 3 points each, all to come out, and I had 21 and that kind of thing. Or remember how I came back from the end? Or remember that game that we played and you guys all teamed up on me?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Can't remember to close the door.
Yes.
But
yes, I can't. Yes. So here's the thing. Like, I think I will say the thing that is a challenge. So Anna said the number 3 is competitive, but like even more than that, Anna is really about looking at a rule set and then like applying the energy and work necessary to win according to the rules. And I play the exact opposite. Generally speaking, when I win a game, it's because I've exploited something about the system.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I think in Anna's mind, every one of mine is like an asterisk win. So it's like a waste of time.
Maybe not all of them, but quite a few.
You know, I really feel though we may have hit on something here. Is that like a common thread of people listening to the show who are in couples and they game together as couples? I want to hear stories. If that's true, that you don't really care who wins as long as you beat the spouse or your partner. If that's true, I'm begging now, please send us some email with your stories about how important it is to beat your spouse or your significant other. Send them to boardgamechats@gmail.com. I think that's there's something there, like a healthy relationship that games, the couple that games together, that might be the factor.
Yeah.
I like it.
Right.
I feel like if it's not the case, it should be.
It should be, yes. Maybe it should be.
Well, I will say for me, like, I don't care who wins because I don't really play. Like, I don't really care about winning, generally speaking.
Right.
I generally play games for the experience and to hang out with friends. And if I learn something about the game system, that's enough for me.
Right. Yeah. I can understand that. I feel the same way in terms of it. The gaming experience is what I remember. I very rarely remember, who won or how the game itself unfolded. It's more about, remember that time we were all in tears laughing about the silly thing that, I did or you did or Sherry did or whoever did. And, this thing that happened in the game was so interesting or so hilarious and we just giggled about it. Like that, those are the experiences I look for.
Dr. Eureka.
What's that?
I said that was Dr. Eureka.
Yes.
When we played that on our last visit.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally had tears streaming down my face.
Yeah. Dr. Eureka. And you guys went out and picked it up afterwards.
Yes. And the second time I played it was equally as bad. Added. So it's just not a game that I'm going to be good at, but I enjoy it immensely. And now 2 for 2 times, actually 3 for 3 times, because we played it twice the last time I played it. I'm like beside myself in hysterics because I'm just so bad at it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. When we played last time, I was beside myself and being too high. And that's why it was hysterical for me. Like, I think I was almost too high to play it. Like I don't even remember competing. I may have just like gone and take a nap like midway through the game.
You were lost in the world of test tubes and marbles
that look like gumdrops.
I thought you were going to bring up our last game of Kingsburg, which we just played earlier this week.
Yes, I got crushed.
You got a very crushing defeat. I actually felt bad when it happened.
Get wrecked, nerd.
Yeah, Myron, you weren't there. So what happens is it's a dice placement game where you're converting your dice into resources and then victory points. And you're building these buildings. And every round, these enemies come out and you have to defend against them. And it's generally pretty easy to defend against them, but there's a random element where you roll the die. And, as long as the people rolling the die roll reasonably well, we should all easily defend it and get a reward. But if the person rolling the die, in this case twice, rolls really badly, the punishment is super severe. Like the enemies take away one of your big buildings, which you spent, a whole turn or a turn and a half.
They take away your best one.
Yeah, your best building. That's right.
Your best building.
Yeah. So you lose the points that you got plus the resources that you put into it, and you basically have to start back again.
Over.
Well, that happened twice to Anna in our last game of
to the
Kingsburg.
2 most valuable buildings in the game.
Yeah. And it was a close game, the whole game, until you lost that second building, and it was Then it was like really
14. I lost 14 points
from 2 buildings,
and literally both times. I just needed you and Sherry to roll anything greater than 1 on a standard die.
Yeah.
Anything greater than 1 would have gotten me success.
Statistically, that should happen. Anna.
Both times y'all rolled 1s and I got fucked.
Yeah,
I did
get wrecked, bro.
Yes. Like, see, Myron. So see
get
what he
wrecked.
just did.
He wasn't even playing
exactly.
That game.
Like I went into a fugue state, and then I woke up, and I was like, "Get wrecked, nerd." I was like, "Oh shit!"
See,
I literally, like, I don't even remember doing that.
This is what I have to put up with.
Yeah, I was like, she's never playing Kingsburg with us again, Sherry.
No, I totally will. No,
okay.
I no. It's again. The fact that I didn't win, I was playing to win, even though I'd never played it before, and I really didn't understand, like, a strategy to try to build the engine yet. But I totally, when I'm playing, I have the expectation that I'm going to at least try to win. I know it may be a futile attempt, especially if I'm playing against Sherry.
That's true, isn't it?
Yes. So when we play, it's basically like someone will ask, "Hey, when's the game end?" And I'll say, or literally anyone, Chris will typically say, "When Sherry wins." Like when she'll let us know. She never she'll
let us know.
She'll let us know. Like don't worry, it's all good. Like we will know right away. Like for sure. Trust me.
Yeah.
We'll have to get Sherry on for her rebuttal.
Forget about it.
Because I killed at BEEEES.
Yes.
Which was the first time playing that game, and I crushed it. So
yeah. BEEEES. It's a game that is hard to find on BoardGameGeek.com because there are an unusual amount of E's in the title. It's like 6 or 7 E's in the title. But you guys liked it, right?
I loved it. I mean, so I can play longer games, but I like that kind of game too, where you can just pick it up and maybe, what was it? Maybe 10 minutes?
15 minutes? Yeah, something like that.
I mean, even with like teaching it, it's super fast, and it's just a fast-paced sort of chaotic sprint.
It's a real-time dice rolling game where you don't wait for people to take their turns. Everyone's rolling their dice as fast as they can and deciding where to place them. You liked it too, yeah?
So much fun, yeah.
And you can steal stuff from other people.
Cool.
And I will say, I won, even though like the first several rounds, I thought you could only place 1 die at a time. So
That's right. You would have done so much better.
I was applying constraints to my rolls and my placement that didn't need to be there. So I'm just saying I would have crushed even harder had that not been the case.
Well, so you won by like 7 points or something like that, right? Like you won like 7 or 8 points over everyone else.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah, it was more than that.
You more than doubled my score.
It was significant.
Yeah, I was in last place. I loved the game. I loved it, but I was in last place. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, and you bought a copy, so that's cool. So we'll be playing it a lot more. Cool. And before we talk more about games, so how did you and Myron meet?
We met in high school.
High school sweethearts.
Sophomore year of high school. We didn't start dating until senior year, but we met sophomore year of high school. Didn't really become friends per se. He was friends with my locker partner that I had sophomore year. And but then junior year, this is a hilarious Myron story. His division. So we didn't have homerooms. We called them division.
Okay.
So his division was so bad that they split the division in half. And I think, didn't your division teacher like retire? They were like,
yeah, he did.
Fuck this,
he
I'm
did.
out of here.
He retired.
So they were so terrible that they split the division up, and half of them came to my division and another half went to some other division. And so Myron
I was the leader, so Anna got the leader.
Myron came to my division, and because his last name is Parks and my last name is Raymer, I sat behind him because they put us in alphabetical
that's the
order.
Way it worked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Fate.
that's kind of how we became friends in division. And then we started dating senior year. And true story, I actually met one of Myron's brothers. So both of Myron's brothers also went to the same high school that we went to.
Okay.
And his second brother, or the middle child, basically, I met him my freshman year.
Oh.
So actually met one of Myron's brothers before I met him. So
interesting.
Small world.
Yeah. And you guys have been together.
You didn't say what I was
since.
holding when you first. I'm sorry, Chris. Anna, you didn't say what I was holding when I met you sophomore year.
Yeah, so he came to my locker one afternoon at the end of the day, and he had his upright string bass with him. And I think you were just trying to hit on my locker partner.
Yeah. Yes.
I think was what was going on there.
Yeah.
And as boys are wont to do when they're in high school. And yeah, that's how we met. So.
Yeah, I had a string bass with a wheel in the end pin, and I was about to walk to a library with
Sulzer
Anna's
library, right?
Locker, yeah, with Anna's locker partner, but that didn't happen. So I just walked away with my friends with the bass with the wheel. Yeah.
Very good. And then the rest was history. You guys met and fell in love and married and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Not too long after that. That's great.
Yeah.
And you guys have lived. So was that in Chicago where you met?
That was Chicago. Yeah. So we're both born and raised in
Chicago,
the mean streets of Chicago.
The mean streets of Chicago.
It has the reputation.
Does it?
A reputation.
Yeah.
So
some streets are meaner than others.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. The phrase Chirac has been used to describe some of this.
That's terrible.
Some of the streets in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah. So Myron grew up on the
near north side.
Near north, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was on the north side.
Yeah. And, it's a tale. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. How does the Tale of Two Cities start? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
But it was basically, it's like the Tale of Two Cities. Like if you dig into it.
Also true story. Myron's high school. So in Chicago, you have like school districts basically that you get to go to just because you live in the neighborhood, right? Like
gerrymander.
It's your neighborhood school. And so, and then we have high schools like the school that Myron and I attended that you have to basically qualify. They're public schools, but academically you have to have the test scores and apply and get accepted into them. Okay. So they're public schools that are not just open to anybody in the neighborhood to attend.
Right.
And the true story, my mom taught at the high school that Myron would have attended in his neighborhood. Yes.
No, I actually didn't get accepted to
yeah, I know. He which is hilarious, by the way, because it's not a good school.
But you got accepted into this one.
But he got accepted into Lane Tech, which is
it's the best school in the universe.
Well, yeah.
Well, so here's what may have happened. The administrator is probably like, there's no way I'm letting this person waste themselves coming here. That happens. That happens, right? Like, I imagine that probably has something to do with it. But my mom, she worked in education. She was a union administrator for the University of Illinois at Chicago, and she sent an appeal packet in like with my application. So she got me in there because both of my brothers were in there, and like my oldest, he was in like the gifted program, and so like he was just like extracted by helicopter from like Chirac and taken to like the billionaire gifted school in Wicker Park. And so, you know, I think my mom was like, it's obvious that, you know what I'm saying? Like this kid is going to do a lot for that school because all three of them are dope. I don't know what was in her appeal, but she got it done.
She advocated for you.
Yeah, she advocated.
She wouldn't have been in there.
Yeah, but my test scores were ridiculous though, right? So like it was similarly, Anna's mom had to advocate for her. I mentioned gerrymandering because literally just because of the zip code that we came from, they put us in lower classes.
Yeah.
Even though Anna's fucking brilliant.
Wait a minute. So say lower classes. What does that mean? What,
lower difficulty. So we went to a college preparatory school, right? So it was a school that you had to test into and academically, but they had, you know, basically regular like classes, and then they had honor classes, and then they had AP classes, and there was one other type.
Telescope
and program, and all of these things.
That's a lot.
But so the district that I was in, Amundsen was the high school, which is not a good school. It doesn't have a good reputation. So even though my test scores were already past senior grade level, and apologies for people in Canada because we say 8th grade and not grade 8, but
that's fine.
So even though my test scores were already past high school proficiency, I didn't get into honors classes, even honors math. So I had taken honors algebra in 8th grade. So I took high school honors algebra while I was attending 8th grade, and I went in the mornings.
Wow.
And I got A+ and all, you know, in that. And even though I had that already on my record and had was ready for geometry going into high school.
Right. She took those classes at Lane Tech, by the way.
No, I took it at Amundsen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
But they put me in regular geometry.
Because of your postal code, basically.
Because of the zip code in the school district that I came from. So my
mom, you lived on the wrong side of the tracks, like that.
Well, it was.
Phrase, right?
It wasn't, but it was like I didn't live in like a particularly bad neighborhood, but academically the schools weren't known for being great, right?
Well, and it's not just because it's not just their reputation. It is in the United States, the schools aren't like the content they teach isn't determined by like the federal government, or like there's no orchestrated like standards district for what you teach. And so like in the neighborhood I came, you can be getting straight A's, but when you go and take like the standardized test for college, you'll get like in the bottom 80th percentile.
But the thing is,
even if you do all of your work that you're given and you're like an A student or whatever in the school you're in,
right,
they literally don't teach certain people stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, both of our standardized test scores, which are the things that they're supposed to use for these qualifications, were through the roof, right?
Yeah.
But the point of the story is that didn't really matter. And so my mom literally, because she was a school teacher, she taught at a high school, she understood how the system worked. She literally went to Lane Tech and was like, "You're putting my daughter in these honors classes, and I'm not leaving until you do." And
wow.
because, you know, she was like, "This is bullshit. Like, she's already taken honors high school level math, and she's, you know, got over an A average in it. So how is it that
this
you're
doesn't make
putting
any
her
sense.
in a regular
Let's do
math
it.
class? It doesn't make any sense."
And your mom had to do that, otherwise you would have no choice, no agency.
Well, otherwise I would have just been in regular classes, and
you wouldn't have been challenged.
You know, it wouldn't have been. Yeah.
She'd have been in high school with me most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I never had any classes with Myron.
Okay.
We were on. So our high school was you actually picked a major.
It's the tracking. It's the tracking is the problem, not the major.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I was a math science major and Myron was a music major.
Yes,
our paths
yes,
wouldn't have crossed in.
Wouldn't have crossed normally.
Normal circumstances.
That's not necessarily true. You like at the top of the story, we were both in the same homeroom, right? Like and like our names are right next to each other. Like, if we went to the same school, you and I would have run into each other, because all of your classes were not were not the honors ones. Certainly freshman year.
Yeah, no.
But because of the tracking, like, Anna went to a different school than I did, even though we attended at the same address.
The only class that I had, freshman year that was not honors was, well, gym and my history class. Everything else was honors, including my shop classes.
Right. Yeah.
So,
that's what I'm saying. Like, whether it be gym, whether it be that history class, there's a lot of classes that, and like with our names being so close, that like literally the only class that we did have together was our homeroom, and you were right behind me. Right. So like, they track in the United States based on zip code. So like, if you come from an area that they're just like, fuck those people, like you're not learning how to go to college. Like, I was not learning how to go to college there.
So, but you came from the bad side of the tracks for sure, right, Myron?
Yeah.
And Anna was on the other side of the tracks, but it still wasn't on the really good side. Like, there was still a street or two between them. It's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
In Canada, what we have, or at least I should specify, because I'm a little bit older than you guys, but what we did have when I was in high school was 3 basic programs. It was basic, I think it was called general and advanced. And teachers generally, I think they suggested what you should go in. So like when I was in grade 7 and grade 8, I did pretty well. And my grade 8 teacher said, you know, you should be in advanced. So when I signed up for the courses, they were all advanced classes. And my first semester of high school, I did very badly. I think I failed 2 of my 4 courses, and I switched down to general. And that was probably a bad decision. I wasn't very motivated to do work, and it was a new class with new students. None of my friends from grade school went to my high school. So I should have probably stuck with advanced, you know, looking back, as hindsight's always 20/20. But I stayed in the general program. But I could make those decisions. Like, no one ever had to, like, at any time I could have said, you know what, I want to really challenge myself and I want to switch back to advanced. And I don't think anyone would have stopped me. Yeah. And, you know, I always think about that, because I think, what about, it must be a hard decision. You know, teachers looking at this student and saying, well, he's got to go into basic, not just the general, but into the basic one. And I just feel like that's a lot of responsibility on the teachers, that they're recommending, you know, hopefully a small percentage of the students go into this basic program. Because, you know, because of their observations of them in the classroom. And I just don't know if every teacher is capable of that kind of responsibility, you know?
And is there like a social, is it like
social
detrimental
workers?
to be in basic? Like, do people kind of look down on that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, definitely as kids, we definitely did, right? I mean,
okay.
Yeah. You know, the advanced kids were smarter kids, and the general kids were pretty much everybody else. And the basic kids, they were generally ones that had, you know, problems learning, or problems at home, or behavioral problems, or, you know, some sort of a developmental learning problem, that kind of thing. You know, they were challenged in some way. But like, I know that my life changed quite a bit from, you know, grade school to high school. And I'm sure it went the other way for some of the kids that were sort of funneled into this general program. But the good thing is that they could have, if they wanted to, I believe anyway, they could have said, you know what, I don't want to take basic anymore. I want to try the general, or even go to the advanced. You would have to talk to, they had like social workers or counselors in the school, and they would sort of help you make that assessment. But I don't think there was any barriers for kids doing that. But this show is called Board Game Chats.
Yes.
And before we get back into board games, so that was in Chicago. You guys grew up in Chicago. And when you moved here from Chicago, but you also moved, Anna, you guys lived other places in the United States.
Yeah.
And
Many
I know
places.
that, yeah, and you had lots of places that you called home, and you got to see lots of different parts of the US. I know that you went to board game conventions and that kind of thing. I'm really curious how, I guess two questions. I'm curious how the board game community is different from the United States to Canada, you know, as in your own personal opinion. And I guess maybe, you know, without getting too far into politics, how the world is different, or how people are different, or how the countries are different from United States to Canada. That sounds like a really big question to answer, but
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so one thing that I would say is, in general, when I was living in the States, I would board game, but primarily with people that I was already friends with.
Okay.
So, you know, generally speaking, when we were playing board games or games of any kind, it was already friends, not going to local game stores necessarily to do like a pickup game on a Saturday or something like that. And that may be just the nature of having a base, and having grown up in a place or lived in a place for a period of time, and kind of having some roots there and people that you're already familiar with, versus moving to a new country and not having anyone that you know, and then trying to find a new community. So, but I would say, I think that the gaming community in general seems more welcoming, more open, in Toronto anyway.
Okay.
And more welcoming to newcomers in general. Newcomers meaning newcomers to Canada,
Okay.
but also just newcomers to gaming. It seems a little bit less insular. On the occasions where I would go to like a bar or something for a game night,
Yeah.
they weren't the most welcoming or comfortable experiences unless you were part of the in crowd.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, like
And
there's sort of cliques of friends that sort of already teamed up, and it was kind of hard to fit in or feel like you fit in and be welcomed. Yeah, I can understand that.
And just in general, I mean, I feel this way about kind of Toronto as an entity, as a thing, right?
Okay.
Like as a city, Toronto is, in my experience, very much like a melting pot, where it is not uncommon to go to a gaming store or a night or something and see all different sorts of people there sitting around the table. And so you won't, whereas in the States, particularly, and I'll just talk about in Chicago where we lived last, it's very much just primarily white men of a certain affluence.
Seats taken.
That you would find at these nights. And there would be some women, but it's almost exclusively white. You just don't see other types of people.
Right.
And probably because those types of people don't feel welcome in those spaces. Whereas I feel like there is a much more welcoming atmosphere in general in the city of Toronto. I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush and say that, things are all rosy here, but that's one difference. And I just, I do think that it's much easier to kind of come here as a quote unquote newcomer, outsider, and find a tribe of people that don't necessarily look anything like you that you can vibe with.
Cool. That's amazing. That's a testimonial right there for sure for the city and for the country. Now, Myron, you had chimed in and said the seat's taken. Is that something you'd actually hear? Like,
people won't say
Forrest
that,
Gump.
but
is it from Forrest Gump? Okay.
Yeah. But
but that's the feeling that you would get.
That's the feel like when a person like me goes into places oftentimes. Now, I'm pretty sure that happens here.
I'm sure it does.
But not as much as it happens there. By a long shot.
Yeah, I'm sure it does happen here in Canada. We are by no means perfect. There's a lot of hate in the world today, and Canada is not immune from that. But I'm glad to hear that, and that it's better here, and that it's a more welcoming environment. It kind of makes me proud to be part of the board game community to hear you say that. So that's really wonderful, actually.
I think so. I mean, I think one of the things Myron mentioned before the show is most of the friends that we've met and people that we keep in touch with here in Canada, it's through gaming, as a sort of shared interest and hobby, and that's not the case for most of the friends that we have from the States.
Right, because you have friends that through the pandemic and after your move, you guys stayed in contact with, you're on Zoom calls with, that kind of thing from the US. So, but you're saying most of the friends that you've made in Canada is through gaming. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Hey. Well, I'm glad that I'm one of them. We've already told the story of how we met on a couple of occasions, probably, Myron and I, and then I met you slightly after when you moved up here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we met because we've become good friends and we get to do this podcast together. One thing that we haven't mentioned actually is that you actually help with the podcast every episode. You comb through it and help us make it better and refine it and make it better and write up some show notes and descriptions of what people talked about and track down people's emails and Twitter links and all that stuff. So thank you for that too as well. Yes. You'll have an interesting time doing this episode, I think, and it's your own voice.
I don't know how that's going to go this time.
Well, we'll help you with it. Don't worry. Into board games. Do you have a favorite game at this moment? You can name more than one.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
And it can change tomorrow.
So for in-person play right now, I am really enjoying Chakra. I find it to just be a delightful game, and you introduced both of us to Chakra. It's such a wonderful game to just sort of vibe with. You can put on like a smooth jazz type of soundtrack in the background and be around the table with your friends, and you just kind of, it's almost like a meditative experience that you're doing together. I love it.
That's a good choice.
For in person.
Yeah. That's a good choice and an excellent description, because it really does give you that feeling. Like it's what I imagine they wanted to just, the experience they wanted to create when they were thinking about making a game about aligning your chakras. And
I hope that it was, because it's brilliant at it, right? Like it is, like if somebody just wants to chill and play a game that you kind of doing your own thing, but you're doing it together, but in your own way, it's just a wonderful game for that. And it reminds me a bit of like Wingspan, but it's shorter, and it doesn't require quite as much setup and teach. But Wingspan is also that way for me. Very, very sort of meditative experience playing that. And Wingspan is a game that I very much enjoy playing in person, but I also enjoy playing online,
right?
Almost equally. Chakra, I prefer to play in person just because of the experience and the look and feel of the chakras, the stones. It's such a beautiful game, you know.
Really is,
and it's fun to play online, but in person, to me, it really shines. And then the other game that I play the shit out of this game, but only online, and I don't prefer to play this in person. So it's a board game that you introduced us to, Chris, Mystic Vale.
Oh,
I probably play that more than any other board game.
Really?
But I kind of refuse to play it in person. I only want to play it digitally.
Okay, why? Why is it online? So I mean, they've done an amazing job with that game. Yeah.
Yes, deck management.
It's the deck management of it I find overwhelming in person, and I just don't enjoy it. It's just too.
Can you give me an example of deck management
to keep track of? Just like all of the powers and the counting and activating everything, because of the way that Mystic Vale works. To me, it's like the ultimate deck builder, because you're not building a deck, you're building the cards. Like each card you are crafting, right?
Yeah.
And each card can have 3 components to it. And you have 20 cards.
Yeah.
And so 20 times 3 is like there's 60 things that you can get through. And so it just becomes, to me, in person, it's overwhelming to keep track of all of those things.
I see. Yeah.
And but when I play it, I just love playing it online. It's
because those 3 elements on each card can interact with each other, and then each card that you play can interact with some or all of those 3 things. So it can become quite cumbersome in keeping track of the different points that you have and the different abilities and things that trigger and what order to do them in. And the app, this beautiful app, does that for you.
Yeah, like managing your tableau is overwhelming for me in the physical space, but digitally, I'm 100% down for it.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And the text is quite small in Mystic Vale, I find. On the cards.
Although I've played it so much now, I probably have all of the.
No, I meant in person. Reading the cards.
Yeah, but I probably have them all memorized now.
Oh, based on the artwork. There you go. There.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good choice. I like those. Do you have a game that you would never play again? Like, oh, I hated that game. I never want to play it again. Can I make a guess? Is it Loonacy?
No, I love Loonacy.
All right, we have to talk about Loonacy in a bit. We'll talk about that next. But first, answer: is there a game that you? Well, there's a story behind that. I'll get to that in a minute.
I know. Yes. No. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Although, yeah, I can't really think of one off the top of my head. I'll try anything, and I'll probably try anything more than once, because just because I didn't like it the first time doesn't mean that I won't like it some other time, right?
Yeah.
Like Mystic Vale, I knew when I played it the first time with you that I needed more time with it, and that it was a game that I would really enjoy playing. And then when I played it digitally, it just clicked, and I was like,
After Myron
I knew
found
that this,
the digital version.
Yeah, I was like, I knew this game
that...
was brilliant when we played it, because I do quite enjoy deck builders.
Yes.
But it really shone for me that way. So, you know, I feel like sometimes it's just the way that you played it, not necessarily the game itself. Oh, you know what? I will say there was that one game that we played that time, that you had like a demo to review. I don't even remember the name of it, but I wouldn't play that again.
Yeah.
We don't need it. Yeah. We don't need to name
We don't need to name names in that case. It wasn't a good game.
It wasn't my favorite.
Like it.
And we
all agreed that was not a good game.
It was not
so
for
much
me.
So that it's not worth naming.
And I'll be honest, I don't need to play Cards Against Humanity anymore. Like that was a game that I played, I guess, you know, I don't want to date myself, when I was younger, but I no longer find that game to be humorous. And maybe that's just growing and as a person and getting, I don't know if it's just getting older, but I don't find it to be funny anymore. So yeah. That'd probably be one that I put in the garbage bin.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. There's a big loud voice of people who don't like Cards of Humanity and actively won't play it. I still have my copy, but to be honest, it's got a lot of dust on it. We haven't played it in ages, and
we actually got rid of ours. That was one of the things before we moved that went in the dumpster, and we had all of the expansions and you know, all
up until
of it,
about
2019.
Box. We had the expansions through 2019 when we went to Gen Con, and I hadn't bought anything from that, and then we just dumped them.
Yeah, it's one of those controversial games, right? And I guess potentially there's still room for it with the right group, but generally it's a game that allows people to say and do things that they, wouldn't normally say and do in a wider group of people. And it's under the guise of, it's just a joke. We're all just having fun together and that kind of thing. And I think that element of the game is lost a lot of appeal for a lot of people who used to like the game or tolerate the game even,
Yeah. I guess for me, it's just, there's other ways to have fun that don't involve shitting on other people. Yeah. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Good for you. So why do you think we play games in general, Anna?
Well, I play to win. No.
Done. That's a good answer. I like that. Let's keep that.
See, told you.
I do like to win. I mean, I just think it's the camaraderie, it's the experience, it's those moments that happen, that you'll think back on over time, that you'll remember, right? Like, I'll never forget Sherry throwing the grenade in the room.
And then
while looking directly in Anna's eyes.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave this here
without breaking eye contact.
You have to have Sherry on to rebut this, but
exactly. So she said she won't come on, so we'll have to really make it awkward for her by saying her name on every episode and all the bad things that she does, so that she'll eventually agree. So that was in a game of Nemesis, where her character's goals conflicted with yours, and she basically threw a
very neutral goal, by the way.
Yes, you did.
Like, at the beginning of that game, you get 2 goals to pick from.
Yeah.
One of my goals was to kill your character, Chris.
Oh, okay, good.
And I was like, well, I'm obviously not going to do that one, right? Like, that's just out of the question. I'm not going to kill Chris's character. Come on. What kind of a monster am I? And of course, Sherry picks the one that she has to kill everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
And that involved throwing her grenade into the room that you were in with an alien, I think. And she was like, I'm just helping you fight the alien.
It's helping you. Yeah. I picked my goal was to hoard supplies, basically.
Yes,
I mean, if I had to sum it up, was to hoard supplies and escape the ship.
Right.
So I didn't fuck with anybody. I was just scurrying around in the ductwork, going from room to room, gathering my supplies until I was able to escape.
Right.
And here Sherry comes, double deuces, throwing grenades. I'm just trying to get out of here. I'm not messing with you.
Yeah. That to me, that's one of the benefits of that game, particularly of Nemesis, is it gives you those kinds of experiences, that moment in the game where everything changed and the person who you were working with becomes the enemy, worse than the alien or something like that, and then everything blows up. It just gives it never fails to give you this huge epic story that stays with you for ages, stays with you for so long, and give you this this thing that you keep retelling and coming back to. It's a
generally when I play, like, I won't go out of my way to fuck with somebody unless it's Myron. And unless and until they fuck with me, and then
the
all bets are off. Then yes, my harmony will usually keep me, abiding by civil rules of gameplay.
Right.
No dirty tricks, but if you pull a dirty trick on me, boy, I'll get down in the mud with you.
Yeah. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on you.
Yeah, you're not going to do it again. There will be no second time.
Now, you've mentioned it a couple of times. You mentioned your harmony. You mentioned competitiveness. I don't think Myron and we've talked about this on the show before. You guys subscribe to and have participated in a assessment tool that is called the CliftonStrengths. And before I butcher it too much, do you want to take that over, Myron, and just tell us a little bit about it? Because you introduced me to it.
Yeah. So Gallup has come up with a system called CliftonStrengths Finder. And the interesting thing about it is it actually, you take a 30-minute assessment, and at the end of it, it tells you the things that you have sort of talent in.
Right.
And if you're doing those things, those are things that are very satisfying for you to do. And so it gives you a sense of what those things are.
Right.
And it's pretty fascinating.
And what I know is, I've done the tests. You guys have done the tests with each other. And I hear you guys reference them, since we've known you guys. And at first I hadn't done the test, and I was like, what are all these things you guys are talking about? And you'd explain it, and I'd be like, oh, that sounds interesting. I've done similar tests. But when I did it, this one is really in depth. Like I got a 30 or 40 page printout of every single one of my top 15 or something like that, and how they work together, and they're all color coded, and they're all broken down by different categories. And Sherry did it, and we compared numbers, and it explained so much about on my own personality, about my relationship with Sherry, how she's different than me, and some of the things that she does that annoys me, and I'm sure the other way around. It explained a lot. And I know that you guys have done it with all your family members, your close friends, and you everybody's top fives, and how, that you do that because you're, connectedness or competitive or whatever. Your empathy is really high, that kind of thing.
Yes.
I think it's been an amazing tool. I've said this to you, Myron, privately, and I think it's true. I've learned more about myself from talking to you than, going to therapists and all the things, the self-help books that I've read in the past and all the different things that I've done to sort of improve myself. I've learned more in the 30-minute conversations here and there that you and I'll have just about strengths, about the world and politics that we talk about. Is that true for you, Anna? Do you feel like you've learned a lot about yourself from that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like I know recently you had an experience, Chris, that you said where, somebody took their top 5 and they literally like cried because they were
Yeah.
like, they get me. And that I cried like when I first read mine because I was
Really?
like, this is so, yeah, because
Yeah.
it really did kind of just sum up
Yeah.
everything that you kind of always know about yourself, but it's not something that you could verbalize or get that sort of deeper level understanding of, right? And then and for me it's not just the top strengths, but it's the bottom as well, and understanding that those are just things that I am not naturally good at, and it's okay. Like I don't need to worry about that stuff. I'm not going to be good at it, right?
Right.
But I think the thing that I've gotten the most out of it is I'm not a particularly empathetic person, and I don't necessarily pick up on social cues all that well. I like the data analytics part of the strengths. It gives me data points to help me understand the people that are in my life better,
Right.
because analytical is high for me.
Yes.
But all of the like relationship and sort of social skill part, so relator, and what's the other one? Relationship building, and so there's strategic thinking, execution, relationship building, and
influencing. Yeah.
So for me, my top 10 is almost all execution and strategic and some strategic thinking, and I only have one for relationship building and one for influence in my entire top 10. So those are very much not strengths for me. So
Right.
it gives me data to help me actually understand people better, because that's definitely a weakness for me.
Right.
So,
I see. Yeah.
yeah.
It's an amazing tool. Like I as we talk about it, and I feel like whenever I explain this to people, and like you said, we've had, friends and family members do it recently. I feel like I'm kind of explaining a little bit of magic, and people listening to it who've never done it kind of feel like, yeah, it's not going to give me that much information. But you're right. We literally had someone crying and feeling she said, I feel heard. Like this algorithm or computer program has spewed out information.
Yes.
And in a lot of ways, some of the information for myself was surprising. I know it was for Sherry as well. But when you learn it, you learn more about it. You go, yeah, you know what? That is me. And that makes so much sense. Like, it's not surprising in a bad way. It might seem it at first because, your harmony is low or your harmony is high, or your empathy is low or your empathy is high. And it sounds bad, right? But that's just who you are. And as you read more about it, you start to discover a way or a language to articulate why you are the way you are and who you are, what makes you different in the world. That's the way
like we talked recently about like regret, right? And not having regret.
Yeah.
But I guess if I had to say, if there's one thing that I regret, it's not having had the Gallup strengths like earlier. I feel like it's a tool similar to that. I feel like should be available to like kids, so that you kind of understand a little bit more about your your personality, and it's not a Myers-Briggs thing or anything like that, but just so you've got a little bit deeper understanding of who you are and how you operate and the things that you really prefer to do and excel at. And so you can let go of all of those other things and just not worry about them so much.
Yeah, like I feel like that those sort of teen years that are so awkward and you're trying to figure yourself out. I feel like you could do this test a couple of times during that period and we would be making, more educated choices about our future, as children. And I think we'd be making happier kids, a little bit
happier
more
people.
self-aware, happier people
happier
who would
kids,
grow up to
happier
be
people.
happier adults. Because
Yeah.
I did a lot of
if
these
I knew,
tests.
I did too, right? But if I knew when I was a kid that I just don't have a lot of strength in influence and relationship building skills, then it would make me feel a little bit less awkward and bad about the fact that I feel awkward in social situations when I'm around a bunch of other, people that I don't know.
And if everyone in your cohort had done that, you could literally go up and say, well, my whatever is really low. It's in my top 5 or bottom 5. And that's why, these kinds of situations are weird for me. And theoretically, they could adjust maybe their behavior or the way they talk to you. And I think everyone would be a lot happier. I did tons of these tests in high school and after high school in my 20s. I did like aptitude tests and what color is your rainbow and what kind of job I should have and Myers-Briggs and a couple other ones, quite a few other ones. And none of them have come close to the same impact, emotionally. And I feel accuracy that this one has. But
totally agree. But that's where those, terms come from, right? And competition's number 3 for me. So
that's
achiever is number 1. So achiever and competition, I like to win.
That perfectly describes you. You like to win, you like to play hard, and you want to achieve those goals that you set for yourself, whether it's in a game or in life. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. She likes to get done and she likes to get things done and to keep score.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's good. Do you think gaming, whether it's tabletop or cards or video games or anything else that you enjoy, do you think that gaming has changed your life at all?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
How so?
mean, all of my memories pretty much from childhood are, for the most part, playing card games, or games in general of some sort. Like those are like all of the fondest memories. I'm, and learning a game like cribbage, for example, when I was very young, I'm sure that has something to do with the fact that I like math.
Right.
Because it's a mathy game, right? And once you learn the basic fundamentals of the game of cribbage, you don't need a cribbage board anymore. You just need to be able to do the math, and you can play it with a piece of paper and a pen.
Right.
And so, and that's so. I mean, I think that had a lot to do with that.
Right. So. A fondness for math, a fondness for learning, a proficiency with math and learning. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, like, I'm terrible at spelling, so never been good at that. Scrabble's not my cup of tea at all.
All right. So spelling games are on the list. I'm an okay speller.
On the list of games I don't generally prefer to play. Although you did get me into Wordle, and I enjoy that. But those are short, 5-letter words I think I can handle for the most part. And that game we talked about earlier, Wordsy, which is the type of word game that I could get into because you don't actually need to be able to spell.
Yes.
So I love that.
Wordsy is, in my mind, the perfect word game in every way. It fixes everything wrong that I find wrong with Scrabble. It can be played by people who, and played very well by people who English isn't their first language. It can be played by young children whose spelling isn't very proficient. It can play, for people who are, learning to read, and still play well. Like knowing how to spell isn't the most essential part of that game.
Yes.
And, knowing all the high scoring 3-letter words that, a lot of people who play Scrabble all the time, is not important at all. Yeah.
That's a garbage game.
All right. So
hot take.
Yeah, that's a garbage game. Yes.
Scrabble.
Hot take. So I wanted to ask, is there something that we might be surprised, something about Myron that we might be surprised to find out as his wife, as his closest partner, someone who lives with him? Do you have like a fun fact or a funny fact, or, the more embarrassing, the better? Because no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that last part. No, if off the top of your head, do you have a funny story?
He has no shame, Myron? So I'm sure I don't know if there'd be anything I could share that he hasn't already overshared. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, other than the fact he claims that he's not competitive, but he does just like to fuck with people. And particularly if he knows that you are competitive, he wants to fuck with you even more. And that's his disharmony. So, generally speaking, if there's going to be an asshole at the table, it's going to be Myron.
No, not true.
Oh, yeah. Myron, I have heard you say something to the effect of, when I play a new game, I like to just see if I can break it for everyone else at the table. I want to break the game and see what'll happen.
Well, it's sometimes. So like, so like when I play a game for the first time, I'm not playing to win. Sure. I'm just playing to figure out how it works. Yeah. Because that's the funnest part for me of like doing things, is figuring out how they work. And don't get me wrong, that's not me like actually understanding all the minutia. It's understanding the gist of like how it works. And so I will typically test the limits to get to the end of a system's resilience very quickly. However, that's not, I don't do that to mess with people, but like if there are people that are very competitive, I will naturally make it just more difficult for the winner to win.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to win.
You're not trying to win, and they're in the lead, so why not, right?
Yeah.
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 I get that. As long as we don't gang up on you when you're in the lead.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yes, exactly.
The martyr syndrome.
Game? The martyr syndrome. What was that?
That
game?
was one of the
Climbers.
First games.
Climbers.
The climbers. That's right.
Yes, the climbers.
That's right. When you took an early lead, and Anna and Sherry,
like I broke the game.
That's when you saw.
You were way on top.
That's when you saw Myron's non-competitive poopy pants on full display.
I wasn't competitive. I just thought it was unfair that now I can see that I'm not correct, but I was like, wait, hold on a second. Y'all are supposed to just give up. Which makes no sense, right? Which makes no sense, right?
Like, I'm winning, just give up.
Just supposed to let me win.
Yeah.
No.
Right. And so they called an audible, and they were like, no, we're going to knock him down so that we can play, so that we can have fun.
Yeah,
but like,
they all ganged up on you.
That's the autistic part. I was like, I don't care if anyone else wants to have fun. Like, I figured out how to beat the game. Like, y'all should just lose so that we can play something else.
I want to still play the game.
No, like, this game is nowhere near over, Myron. And so now you have to figure out like how to get back up.
The top. Yeah, how to stay at the top.
Yeah, how to stay at the top. And then I lose energy. Like I don't have the energy for it. And I'm just like, oh, this sucks. This sucks. Like everyone sucks.
I'm
like,
going to talk about this for
win.
The end of time.
The game is broken because yeah.
They didn't let me win.
Give up.
I won. That's an asterisk loss in my mind. That's an asterisk loss. That's an
See,
asterisk
Myron
L.
forgot Anna's number one winning condition.
Myron
which
loses.
Is
yes,
Myron
doesn't win.
He's got to lose, not win.
Yes.
He doesn't have to lose. He just has to not win.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, so with that in mind, we have a story that I think we need some clarification on. Myron has told a story a couple times about a concussion during that you
He
received
loves to tell this
during
story.
a game of Loonacy. Well, I mean, it's a good story. The game Loonacy is, a rather simple game. It's not a dexterity game. It's definitely not a game that involves running around, throwing a football around in the air.
No. But it is a full contact sport.
Yeah, okay. No.
If you're
well, at least when I play it, it's a full contact game. You get your elbows out.
Yeah. Every game is like that, maybe. So why don't we hear your side of the story? Your rebuttal.
Yeah. So Myron tells this story as if I got a concussion playing Loonacy because I'm so competitive that I don't know. I was out of control. I don't even know that I ended up with a concussion while playing Loonacy. That's how he always spins it. Like, my wife's so competitive that she got a concussion playing this simple card game where you're like trying to get rid of all your cards.
And then somehow we were hitting each over the head with the chairs.
Exactly. And what happened was we're playing this game of Loonacy and we stand up to play the game because I was playing it with other competitive people. So it is a somewhat full contact sport in that we're standing around the table and we have our elbows out, like clear the space. So I have full access to lay my stuff down as quickly as possible. And we had finished a round and I went to sit down in my chair that had been behind me. And somebody had moved my chair while I was standing up and playing the round of Loonacy. And I didn't know that somebody had moved my chair. So I just remembered that my chair had been right behind me. And as people do, you go to sit back down and there was no chair there. But there was a concrete wall behind my head.
No.
So I sat down and no chair, butt bounced off the floor and head went back and hit the wall.
Oh no.
Right at the, back of my head. And so that's how I got a concussion.
Playing Loonacy.
Just because somebody happened to... I did.
Oh, wow. So it was the real full meal deal on the concussion.
But I continued to play. I mean, we continued our game night, and I was like, all right, I'm just shake it off,
Because you still had a chance to win. You had to
Yeah. So we continued our game night, and then after the game night was over, I kind of was having some headaches and, was like neck was very stiff and stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe we should go to check this out before I take it, go to sleep and never wake up again. Because that's, the type of thing that you hear that happens to people if you hit your head and don't get it checked out. So, but yes, it was no, I didn't slip and fall on a banana peel while running around a table. Like, I don't know what people have in their mind. No,
it didn't.
It's just my chair got moved.
Yes. So I will say that it happened very quickly. Anna, like she said, she was like, all right. So she moved it out of the way.
I didn't move the chair. I did not move the chair.
Well, someone else moved the chair out of the way.
Yes.
But you had D'd them up, like your elbow. So like they like tried to move it out of the way real quick. It was, hot and heavy. And then you went to sit down. Blah.
Yeah, no, that's not right. I'll explain it again.
He was sitting next to Anna. That's all I'm saying.
Huh?
The guy that moved the chair was sitting next to Anna.
Yeah. And one of my friends, he was sitting next to me.
That zone defense.
on,
you know what I'm saying?
On my right.
Too strong, bro.
And, you know, he stood up, I stood up, we're all standing up, and, you know, it wasn't malicious or anything like that. He just decided to move the chair so we had more space.
Yeah, it wasn't a tactic to win.
No, and I didn't realize that he had moved the chair. Simple as that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it to the audience to decide.
Yes. Write in and tell us write in and tell us if you believe Anna's side of the story or Myron's side of the story. BoardGameChats@gmail.com. Well, listen, it has been absolutely fantastic chatting with you, as it always is. You know, it's true. We've gotten to know you guys really, really well, and it's been a great pleasure and having you on the show. We will definitely have you on again. We'll probably have you on as a co-host, as long as there's not too many voices. I don't want Board Game Chats to be like really like there's 10 people. Who's talking now? I don't know who that is. Whose voice is that? But yeah, we enjoyed having you on the show, and I'm so glad that you agreed to come on and play along with us as we interview you and to get to hear your story. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come on and defend myself.
Yes, we got the rebuttal done. You know what? Before we say goodbye, is there anything, Myron, that you want to ask Anna? I kind of did all the talking, and I expected it to be that way. I asked most of the questions because I assume you know the answers. You guys know what the other will say. So, and while I know some of the answers too, I want it to be the one.
Well, by the way, we are terrible at those games where you have to like guess what your partner is going to guess.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Those never go well. You don't play those with us because they don't go well. Yeah. And then I get upset at Myron. Like, how could you possibly think that a banana split was my favorite dessert? Do you even know me? Like, are you serious?
All right. I've got another game for the list. It's called Kumpani. Just because it's fun to watch Myron and Anna argue.
Okay.
Anna, I have a question for you. Are you mad that I ordered a copy of Snakes and Ladders during this recording?
Are you serious, bro?
Yes, we have to have a souvenir. I mean, Pressman Games, it comes in a red and white box. You know what I'm talking about, Chris. We've never seen it before.
I saw it in Oakville at the museum.
I didn't see it.
For crying out loud. Okay. Yes, I am upset with you.
Okay.
You broke the rule.
I'm upset too, because that means now I have to play Snakes and Ladders with you guys. I haven't played that since my niece was 3.
I know. I haven't played. Yeah, that one went by the wayside.
I've never played it, so there it is. We've never played it.
If you would have gotten Candyland, I could have gone along with it But no, don't buy Candyland. That is not
right. Yeah, that's what's up. No. All right, yeah, that was the only question I had.
That's good. Maybe this is a good place to stop so you guys can finish this conversation later about the Snakes and Ladders game. Snakes and Ladders game, not ladders. Oops, I've got things falling in the background. Oops. All right. Well, thank you very much again, Anna, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Moon of my life.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Board Game Chats with Chris and Myron. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, check out their website at boardgamechats.com, or drop them an email at boardgamechats@gmail.com. You can also find Board Game Chats on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.